Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. World leaders deliberate on course correction to make sustainable development for all a reality at the UN Summit of the Future in New York with adoption of the Pact of the Future. Prime Minister Narendra Modi tells tech CEOs in New York India will use artificial intelligence responsibly, assures Made in India chips will run devices globally. Sri Lanka's new president Anura Kumara Dissanayake pledges cleaner politics. Indian Prime Minister congratulates him for the victory. And India's Nifty 50 and Sensex close at record levels for the third straight day. Nifty ends above 25,900. Bank and auto stocks lead the rally. So a lot of diplomatic action is underway in the United Nations headquarters in New York. World leaders are deliberating on course correction to make sustainable development for all a reality at the UN Summit of the Future. Member countries will vote on a global digital compact to regulate AI, fight misinformation and connect the whole world to the internet. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also going to address the Summit of the Future on day 3 of his US visit. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his meeting with the United States industry leaders, said that India doesn't wait for opportunities anymore, rather it creates them. During a meeting with the top leadership of technology giants in New York, Modi said on Sunday that India was committed to the ethical and responsible use of AI. Modi met with 15 tech and pharmaceutical chief executives, including Adobe CEO Shantanu Narayan, Google CEO Sundar Pichai and others. The top leaders, after their meeting with Narendra Modi, said it was an exciting time to partner with India, hailing Modi's Make in India initiative. PM Modi said the day is not far when Made in India semiconductor chips would be seen running devices globally. So, as we mentioned, with a lot of diplomatic action in New York this week, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is set to make the country statement for India on behalf of Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the United Nations General Assembly during its general debate on September 28th. The general debate of the 79th UNGA session will take place from September 24th to 30th. Earlier, world leaders adopted the Pact of the Future as the Summit of the Future opened at the UN headquarters in New York. The Pact covers 56 themes, including peace and security, sustainable development, climate change, and the transformation of global governance. The Pact for the Future is the UN's master plan for tackling challenges that lie ahead for humanity. It also promises to accelerate efforts to attain the Sustainable Development Goals, which aim for the eradication of extreme poverty by 2030.
Nous avons ouvert la porte. Il nous incombe désormais à toutes et à tous de la franchir, car il ne s'agit pas seulement de s'entendre, mais aussi d'agir. Et aujourd'hui, je vous mets au défi de passer à l'action, de mettre en œuvre le pacte pour l'avenir en privilégiant le dialogue et la négociation, en mettant fin aux guerres qui déchirent le monde et en réformant la composition et les méthodes de travail du Conseil de sécurité.
The Mexican Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Alicia Bárcena, called for urgent reforms of the United Nations Security Council at the ongoing UN Summit of the Future. She highlighted the legitimacy crisis the UN is facing, calling for the abolition of veto power and an overhaul of the Security Council to better represent the geopolitical realities of the global South.
We cannot hide our dismay at the fact that the ambition for UN system reform, especially of the Security Council, has been diluted despite its evident ineffectiveness in recent years. Thus, it remains pending to adjust this mechanism to the geopolitical reality that includes Global South and eliminates the veto once and for all.
Also at the summit, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau emphasized the need for collective responsibility, urging nations to set aside differences and confront serious global challenges. He called for a renewed commitment to multilateralism and the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals to better serve citizens worldwide. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address is also scheduled at the UN Summit of the Future today. And next, we take a look at what else is making news across the world. Thousands of workers from renowned hotels went on strike in San Francisco on Sunday. The workers demanded better wages and protested pandemic-era staffing cuts, citing a 50% reduction in workforce resulting in heavier workloads. The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission has accused the country's two largest supermarket chains of misleading shoppers about discounts on hundreds of products in lawsuits filed on Monday. The suit is filed against Woolworths and Coles for keeping prices on certain products steady for 2 years and hiking them to put on sale. Dengue has claimed 6 more lives in past 24 hours in Bangladesh, while 926 more patients were hospitalized with viral fever. The death toll from the mosquito-borne disease has reached 231 this year. A total of 24,034 dengue cases have been reported since January 1st, 2024. In Iraq, a mother of 2 children with autism has dedicated herself to support families in need. After struggling to find affordable services for her children, Shaima Gashan, the mother, educated herself online and earned international certification. She then opened a center offering free services for autistic children, filling a crucial gap in her community.
4 5 مثل إيد علاوي 1
Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Regional victory in Brandenburg election brings Germany's Olaf Scholz brief respite from growing pressure within the party. India's health and wellness scheme Ayushman Bharat completes 6 years. And Hindi film Lapata Ladies is India's official entry for Oscars 2025.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Tanvi Taneja. After years of turmoil in the island nation, National People's Power leader Anura Kumara Dissanayake was sworn in as the 9th executive president of Sri Lanka on Monday. In his inaugural address, leftist alliance leader Dissanayake assured his dedication to uphold and strengthen democracy, acknowledging the challenges that lie before his government. Details in our next report.
Marxist-leaning politician Aruna Kumara Dissanayake took oath as Sri Lanka's president, a day after he won a comprehensive victory in a closely contested election. These elections knocked out the incumbent president Ranil Wickremesinghe and opposition leader Sajith Premadasa. The mandate is being seen as a vote against the established political parties which have been in power for many years. This was the country's first election since its economy buckled in 2022 under a severe foreign exchange shortage. leaving it unable to pay for imports of essential including fuel, medicine and cooking gas. The protests forced then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to flee and later resign.
We'll see a lot of old players will be taken off from the parliament and well-educated and more youngsters coming into the parliament. It's a very good opportunity for Sri Lanka go for a proper change.
Dissanayake had promised to dissolve parliament within 45 days of taking office for a fresh mandate for his policies in general elections. As per experts, the parliamentary elections can be held as early as in November this year. His party, Janataka Vimukti Peramuna, has only 3 parliamentarians in the 225-member house, which would make it difficult to run the government. On the other hand, as the new government takes shape, people would be looking forward to fulfillment of various promises made by the new president. Voters, particularly the youth, were drawn to his promises of cleaning up the country's politics and easing the economic burden on the populace.
We have a deep understanding that we have got a challenging country. Our politics must be cleaner than this. There is a need for a political culture that people expect. We will commit ourselves to that. The public have a very negative view of politicians and politics.
55-year-old Dissanayake presented himself as the candidate of change for those reeling under austerity measures linked to a $2.9 billion International Monetary Fund bailout. What needs to be seen is that if the new government relaxes austerity measures to ease the troubles for the poor. Despite the uncertainty, Disanayake's election represents a significant political transformation in Sri Lanka. His ability to navigate economic reform and fulfill his promises will define whether his political shift becomes a long-lasting change or a brief departure from the norm. Ahmed Muin Farooqi's report for DD India.
On to Europe now. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's Social Democrats party won the regional election on Sunday with nearly 31% of votes. This was in Brandenburg, where Social Democrats celebrated their win against the far-right Alternative for Germany AfD party. The SPD scored 31.8% of the votes against AfD's 29.2% and ruled the state since reunification in 1990.
In großen Teilen und in ihrem Gesamtwesen offen rechtsextrem.
When an openly, in big parts, and overall openly right-wing extremist party in a state scores around 30% of votes, it's hugely alarming for all of us, for all Democrats, for everyone who stands up for freedom, openness and tolerance. Despite all the pride we feel today due to the good result, we must take this seriously. We must continue the debate after this election campaign. Brandenburg only has a chance if Brandenburg remains a liberal-minded and tolerant state.
Auseinandersetzung auch nach dem Wahlkampf intensiv weiter.
In France, new cabinet members held their first meeting on Monday with the French Prime Minister Michel Barnier. The new cabinet includes the ministers from the Conservative Party as well as centrist of French President Emmanuel Macron's coalition. But the job of the finance minister was given to a little-known 33-year-old, Antoine Armand of Macron's party, having been turned down by more senior politicians. On to the tensions in West Asia now. The Israeli military hit more than 300 Hezbollah sites in Lebanon on Monday. Israeli military spokesperson Daniel Hagari called on the residents of South Lebanon to keep away from Hezbollah posts. Several residents received phone calls warning them to evacuate the region. Schools in the targeted areas of Lebanon were shut for 2 days amid the strikes. Israel intensified strikes after Hezbollah tried to launch cruise missiles from a civilian house in Lebanon. 115 rockets were fired into northern Israel by Hezbollah on Sunday. Rockets damaged buildings and cars caught fire as they landed in the Haifa city, where 4 people were also injured. Residents heard sirens and ran for shelter as both sides exchanged fire. So as hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah are flaring up, President Joe Biden said earlier that the US will do everything possible to prevent an escalation of the conflict in West Asia.
We're going to do everything we can to keep a wider war from breaking out. and we're still pushing hard.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in the United States to discuss his victory plan with President Joe Biden. With his plan, Zelensky aims to bring peace and end the 2.5-year-long ongoing conflict between Ukraine and Russia. The Ukrainian president was welcomed by Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, and both leaders witnessed the signing of the sister state agreement between Pennsylvania and Ukraine's Zaporozhye region. And on to stories from India. Health insurance only for the rich is a matter of past in India. Now, poor people are also availing its benefits all across the country, making it the world's largest government health scheme. Our correspondent Nitendra Singh reports as to how the scheme has achieved a pan-India reach.
Today is the time to commemorate the world's largest health insurance, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, PMJ, that was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2018. The scheme ensures that a poor person does not miss out on treatment due to lack of money. Under the scheme, over 120 million poor families are eligible for free treatment up to 5,000 rupees each year. Around 550 million people are covered under the scheme. Recently, the cabinet approved the inclusion of people above the age of 70 under the Ayushman Bharat scheme.
सभी बुजुर्गों को, irrespective of any income group, all have been included in Ayushman Bharat above the age of 70. और इसको हम अक्टूबर महीने में हम इसको लॉन्च कर देंगे.
In the past 6 years, more than 370 million Ayushman cards have been issued under this scheme. The scheme includes 1,949 health packages, 27 of which are medical specialty packages covering general medicine, surgery, cancer and heart disease. Post-hospitalization, beneficiaries receive care, food and transportation for up to 15 days. Nationwide, 29,648 hospitals are linked to the scheme, including 13,049 private hospitals. So far, around 80 million poor individuals have received free treatment after being admitted to hospitals, of whom 49% of the beneficiaries are women. The most common treatments are for cancer, kidney disease, heart disease, general medicine and gastroenterological conditions.
किडनी वो खराब होने के बाद फिर वो पाइप निकाला गया और डायलिसिस चालू कर दिया गया. डायलिसिस के दौरान मेरे पास पैसे भी नहीं बचे थे. आयुष्मान कार्ड की देन है, मैं उनका इलाज करा पा रहा हूँ.
73 दिन था मेरा बच्चा एडमिट और आयुष्मान कार्ड का मेरा पूरा आयुष्मान कार्ड से इलाज हुआ. उसमें मेरा पैसा नहीं लगा बिल्कुल हॉस्पिटल में. हम आर्थिक स्थिति से इतना मजबूत नहीं थे कि हम इलाज करा पाते बच्चे के. तो ज़्यादातर नहीं गया हूँ. केंद्र सरकार की इस योजना से हम लोग बहुत संतुष्ट हैं और खुश हैं.
One of the scheme's major qualities is its pan-India applicability. This means that if an Ayushman card is issued in one state, one can receive treatment in empaneled hospitals in other states as well. Under this category, 1,200,000 people have benefited and the government has spent around 3,100 crore rupees. The Ayushman Bharat scheme is implemented in 33 states and union territories. However, Delhi, West Bengal and Odisha have not adopted it. The scheme is entirely cashless. The Ayushman Bharat scheme operates under the trust model in 23 states, the insurance model in 7 states and a hybrid model in 3 states. Bureau Report with Nitendra Singh for DD India.
The Indian Army commemorates September 23rd every year as Haifa Day to pay its respects to the 3 brave Indian cavalry regiments that helped liberate Haifa in the First World War from Ottoman rule. An event to pay tributes to the brave Indian soldiers was organized today at the Haifa Chowk in New Delhi, where Indian Army veterans, Israeli Embassy in India representatives laid wreaths and paid tributes to the gallant Indian soldiers.
ये दुख है, कमजोर है, उसको मदद करता हुआ एक प्रॉस्पर भारत भी होना है. इसलिए दुनिया में एक भरोसा बना है, गारंटर ऑफ पीस, प्रॉस्पेरिटी, हार्मोनी, लव. ये कौन हो सकता है? लोगों को लगता है कि अगर भारत लीड ले और वर्तमान में भारत के प्रधानमंत्री उसके लिए नेतृत्व करें तो युद्ध से बुद्ध की ओर दुनिया जा सकती है.
The Geological Survey of India, in collaboration with UNESCO, is organizing a 3-day training and workshop on the global geoparks. This workshop focuses on the significance of geoparks in India and the importance of listing them into the World Geopark Heritage List. Geological Survey of India's Director General Asit Saha and UNESCO's India head Tim Curtis spoke to DD India on the importance of geoparks and how India is working towards getting them recognized.
Just a question of getting the work done and making the work happen, and so I'm quite confident from what we heard today from the Secretary of the Ministry of Mines, from the Director General of the Geological Survey of India. We're certainly here in New Delhi, UNESCO office, willing and eager to work with them and make it happen, so I'm quite confident that this will happen. When exactly, I don't know, and which one, that'll be a decision for the Government of India to make.
We have to first establish a national geopark, and the national geopark has to be in functioning for at least 1 year before we can apply for UNESCO geopark. And UNESCO geopark takes a little bit of time. There are a lot of regulations, a lot of documentation, a lot of permissions. We have identified one in Rajasthan, that is Ramgarh crater, and around that, Ramgarh crater is the geological monument, geological heritage feature. Another one is Eramati Dibbalu in Andhra Pradesh. It has got a lot of potential, and above all these things need protection, and we can only protect them if these get this type of recognition.
Next, we take a look at what else is making news in India. After an impressive turnout of over 61% in the first phase of assembly elections, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir is now set for the second phase. 26 assembly constituencies will go to polls on September 25th. The second phase covers the constituencies in Riyasi, Rajouri and Poonch districts in the Jammu region and Srinagar and Budgam districts of the Kashmir Valley. To commemorate 75 years of its Raising Day celebrations on 9th October 2024, India's Territorial Army launched the first ever expedition from the Siachen Glacier to Indira Point, traversing a distance of approximately 5,500 kilometers. The team hoisted the tricolour underwater at Indira Point, which is the southernmost tip of the country. A team of officials headed by Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar is on a 2-day visit to the central Indian state of Jharkhand. The team has arrived to review the poll preparedness of the state ahead of the elections. The team will hold a series of meetings with political parties, enforcement agencies and government officials. Jharkhand is going to polls later this year. On to stock market news from India. Continuing their winning streak for the third consecutive trading session, Indian benchmark indices reached new record highs on Monday, driven by strong support from the financial services sector. The Nifty 50 reached a record high of 25,956 points, just shy of the 26,000 mark, before ending the day up 0.6%. Similarly, the Sensex at the BSE touched a fresh record high of 84,928. Before closing at 84,864, which is 0.5% higher than the previous closing session. In addition, rallies in the realty and auto stocks contributed to the market's strength, while the recovery in the PSU stocks continued in Monday's session. All major sectoral indices closed in positive territory at the end of the trading session on Monday. And next, a story that should interest in Indian cinema buffs. Kiran Rao's directorial venture Lapata Ladies is India's official entry for the 97th Oscars. Produced by renowned actor Amir Khan, the Hindi film is about two well-defined, powerful women characters. It was chosen for India's representation in the Academy Award category for the Best Foreign Film from a list of 29 other films. After being a critical and commercial success in both its theatrical and OTT run, Lapata Ladies has been loved by everyone in India and especially appreciated for its hard-hitting dialogues.
ऐसा दुर्घटना तो पहली बार सुने हैं।
इकलौता फोटो है शादी का दिन खिंचवाए थे।
And updates from the sporting arena. In chess, India achieved double podium finish, ending the wait of a century. With this, India not only emerged as the world champions, but also proved that this is actually the golden era for Indian chess. Grandmasters Gukesh Domaraju, Arjun Erigiasi and Pragnananda Ramesh Babu all won as the Indian men wrapped up victory in the 45th FIDE Chess Olympiad with a statement 3.5, 0.5 win over Slovenia in the last round. Whereas in women's category, Team India that clinched gold for the first time after convincingly beating Azerbaijan 3.5-0.5, they saw Kazakhstan on equal match points from the outset and tie their match with the US team. In English Premier League football, John Stones scored a dramatic equaliser deep into stoppage time to rescue Manchester City from defeat against Arsenal in a chaotic and controversial 2-2 draw at the Etihad Stadium. City took the lead through Erling Haaland's 100th goal for the club, but Arsenal turned the game around before half-time. Ricardo Calafore equalised after City's talisman Rodri was forced off injured and Gabriel headed Arsenal in front just before the break. Controversy struck when Trossard was sent off for a second yellow, while City's Jeremy Doku avoided punishment for a similar offence. Despite relentless pressure from City in the second half, Arsenal triumphed after a brilliant display from goalkeeper David Raya. The game ended in a draw, courtesy of last-minute heroics from John Stones. And clad in their best attires, locals in Munich participated in the annual Oktoberfest costume parade. Oktoberfest began in 1810 on the occasion of the marriage of the then Bavarian Crown Prince. The first such parade began in 1835. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles. And for those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates from our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.